Hey there, welcome to Portals Podcast. My name is Scott Love, and I'll be your host on this epic journey into the fascinating and inspirational. Alright, it's time to be honest. And this is a little embarrassing to admit, but I don't think I've fully recovered from the chaos that was 2020. Like everyone else, I tried to convince myself that I had moved on, that everything was okie dokie, and that I could jump right back into the flow of life. But the truth is, I couldn't. 2020 left a mark on me, affecting me mentally, physically, and emotionally on all levels. The shock of it spun me into a spiral of dread and insecurity. It was genuinely traumatic for me. And it wasn't even the pandemic that hit the hardest. Don't get me wrong, it was scary, absolutely. Anyone saying otherwise isn't being honest. But once we began to understand the situation, it became more about tolerance and patience. What really shook me, though, was people. Human beings being human was actually terrifying for me. The murder of George Floyd and the protests against systemic racism, the global reaction to that tragedy, the political spectrum tearing itself apart with violence, hate, destruction, it was all too much. These were external events happening outside my immediate bubble, but they still shook me. What really broke me was seeing people I knew and loved lose their minds and their kindness and treat each other horrifically. 2020 was the year the world had a meltdown. Everything I thought the world was becoming, which basically is a better place, suddenly flipped and shattered my worldview. Before that, maybe I was naive, but I believed that people were slowly learning how to move past the things that held us back. Racism, sexism, hate. I saw these as fading issues, relics from a past that we were collectively growing beyond. With each new generation, I thought we were getting closer to leaving them behind. Now, looking back, I see that I might have been living in a little bit of a bubble. I was surrounded by beautiful people in the community I was hanging out with. The ones I met through Indescript, Emergence Creative Space, and the 3 Days Light Gathering. These were the people that seemed to have evolved beyond those divisions. In my world, we all sat at the same table, regardless of color, sexual orientation, gender, or political beliefs. Literally, we did that for years. But between March 13th and May 25th of 2020, in just 3 short months, the world shut down and blew up. The facade was gone, and what was left was ugly. Proudly so in some cases. Hate was just as potent as ever. The demon of racism may not live in as many hearts as it once did, but it's still alive and strong in those who are possessed by it. Then the riots happened, followed by the ridiculous response from the government and media. What could have been a powerful display of solidarity and growth turned into a disgusting debacle, a tool for political gain. Lines were drawn, and then January 6th happened.
After this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
I was done. I was gutted. I'm going to skip over my thoughts on the political landscape of 2020. I don't want to get shadow banned, and I certainly don't want to offend anybody. It wasn't the leaders who did it, though. It was the people who followed them. Honestly, it doesn't matter where you fall on the political spectrum. This isn't about that. This is about how people reacted and treated each other during that time of crisis. Not everyone, of course. Many people shone brightly. But the anger, ignorance, hate, and separation were overwhelming. I got lost in it. I could go on and on about everything that happened in 2020, but the bottom line is that it really messed me up, and I never fully recovered. I've been holding on to that for a while now, and it feels good to finally say it out loud. The impact that year had on the emotional, physical, mental, financial, and spiritual well-being of so many will take years, if not decades, to sort out. I can only speak for myself, but I know I'm not alone. An alarming number of people are still stuck right now, still reeling from how much that time period affected them. But it's hard to admit because so many others just picked up and moved on as if it never happened, like waking up from a horrible dream. Some people just forgot about it or didn't let themselves think about it, but others like me, it still lingers. But this episode isn't about all that. This episode is about how we can move past it and heal. How we can get to a better place inside of ourselves and hopefully as a global community. I mentioned those things because for many people, that time marked the beginning of a downward slide, leaving them feeling trapped in a world that doesn't match their ideals or align with their hopes and dreams. Of course, 2020 isn't the only reason people feel stuck right now. Every day, people face personal tragedies, financial setbacks, natural disasters, wars, and political uncertainty. The truth is, life can blindside us in countless ways, and we don't even see it coming, leaving us lost and confused. It could be the end of a relationship, a health concern requiring serious lifestyle changes, or a loss of faith that has guided us for years. That's intense. Writing this brought up a lot of feelings. I hope it doesn't trigger anyone too much, but there's a reason I wrote it so passionately. If you can relate to any part of what I just said, or if you have someone close to you who seems to be stuck, lost, or in need of healing and a new direction, then this episode's for you. I know what it's like to feel stuck in despair and feel like you're drowning in grief. But, believe it or not, after all that I just said, I have some good news. And that's what inspired me to make this episode. It is possible to release all the pain that life brings, to get yourself to where you want to be, and to build the life you desire. And it is possible to find your bearings and actually get to a place where you're living your best life. By the end of this episode, you'll already be on your way. In fact, just by clicking it, you've already started your journey. It's time to unstuck yourself. Are you ready? But first, here's the thing. You are listening to Portals Podcast, an extension of the Emergence Creative Space. Listeners are transported into the hearts and minds of some of the most inspired creators, producers, artists, and activists around. Portals is a platform and a spotlight on the people, organizations, businesses, and more who are the unsung heroes making a huge impact on the lives of others. My name is Scott Love, and I'll be your host on this epic journey into the powerful world of the fascinating and inspirational. I am an activist, an entrepreneur, and a visionary. Over the years, I've made some incredible relationships with a lot of epic people, many of which have helped me and guided me on my journey. I believe they'll help you as well. Here's what's up. We are a people in transition. The choices we make now will affect the lives of others for generations to come. Our choices will be our legacy. I want Portals Podcast to be a go-to resource for those who are searching for solutions and to help move us all forward. Thanks for being here. All right, let's get inspired. All right, welcome back to the show. I want to take a minute to express my deepest gratitude to you for being here and watching this right now. I know there's a million other things vying for your attention, so the fact that you chose to sit with me for a minute means the world to me. I appreciate this more than you know. After you finish watching this video, please let me know in the comments what you think. I'm very interested on your thoughts and your ideas on this subject and the methods for getting yourself unstuck that I'm about to share. Let me know how you've bounced back, if you have, or if you follow along and practice what I'm about to lay out, let me know if it helps. All right. Thank you so much, and let's get started. What I'm about to share with you comes from years of healing from various kinds of traumas. Like I mentioned, 2020 was devastating for me, but it wasn't the first time that I had to deal with difficult things. A little bit about me, just so you know where I'm coming from. I grew up poor in Detroit in the 1970s and 80s. During my formative years, I experienced just about every kind of abuse a young boy could face. The world was a different place then, without the cultural awareness and focus on healing that we have today. So my way of coping was to withdraw within myself. I got angry, was introduced to drugs and alcohol way too early, and for years I bottled everything up until eventually it exploded. By the time I was 20, I had spent almost 5 years in various lockdown facilities for troubled kids. There's so much more to my story, but I'm not trying to make this about me. I just want you to know that when I talk about working through trauma and the steps I took to heal, you have some perspective of where I'm coming from. I'm about to be 54 years old, and while my healing process is far from over, it's been ongoing for over 30 years. During that time, I've gone to counseling, met with therapists, been diagnosed a few different disorders, been on medication, participated in group meetings, and been involved in 12-step programs, amongst other things. This episode is the combined wisdom that I've gathered over those years. Now, quick disclaimer. I'm not a professional anything. I didn't go to school to become a therapist. I'm not even a life coach. So please don't take what I'm about to say as professional help. And with that out of the way, let's dive in. How do we unstuck ourselves? Well, here's a few things you can do. FYI, this is going to take a bit of effort on your part. I'm going to ask you to remember some things that may be uncomfortable, maybe even a bit painful. If at any time you start to feel overwhelmed, you can just stop. Take a minute right now to think about somebody you can call to talk to if you need to express yourself about any of what you're working through. A friend, family member, a member of the clergy, or maybe even a professional. If you're having trouble thinking of someone, consider reaching out to a support group in your area. There are many, and you might be surprised at how helpful they can be. They meet both online and in person. Okay, you ready to get started? Grab a pad of paper and something to write with. We're going to work. Part 1. Renunciation Ceremony. Clearing the debris. This exercise was first introduced to me in the early 2000s as part of a men's group I was involved in. It's called a renunciation ceremony. Even if you're thinking, what's the point of this? Please just go along with it. It's all about renouncing a trait, an aspect, or behavior that you no longer want in your life, and it's very powerful. What's the number one thing holding you back? Chances are you already know what it is, so just say it. What else is holding you back? Are there several things? On the top of that sheet of paper, write, what's preventing me from living my best life? And then just write all the things. Don't edit yourself. Just go with the flow and put it all out on a page. Is it a relationship, a job, or the lack of a job, a belief system? Maybe it's a deep trauma you've never dealt with. Is it a belief about yourself or the world around you? Write it down as a list with one statement or cause per line, and leave 4 lines between each item on the list. Write as many as you feel. If it's just one thing, write it down. If it's a dozen things, write them all down. However many it is, get it all out on the paper. Think of every item on your list as a weight holding you down, and by writing it out, you're actually taking the weight off your shoulders and putting it onto the paper. When you're finished, put the pen down and walk away from the list for a couple minutes. Go take care of something else. Take out the trash, wash your face, whatever. Just distract yourself for a minute. This will reset your brain before we dive back in. When you're ready, head back to the list and read it back to yourself. Is there anything that you want to add or remove? Should you rephrase something to make it a little more accurate about how you really feel? Once you're all set with your list, ask yourself these 4 questions about each item on it. Number 1, can I do anything about this, or am I powerless to change it? 2, if I can change it, what can I do about it? Number 3, what does my life look like without this affecting me? And the 4th and final question is probably the hardest. Is this really holding me back, or am I just using it as an excuse? That's a tough one. What's real and what's not? Sometimes we use excuses for so long that they become part of the myth we tell ourselves. We prop things up as reasons for not doing things because, for whatever reason, they've become tools that we use. Once you've answered those questions, sit with your list for a few minutes and make any revisions that you need to. Now we're going to liberate ourselves from those things. That sounds good, doesn't it? What I was taught to do is to take that list, hold it in the air, and acknowledge that these things are keeping you stuck and that you're no longer going to allow them to do so. Verbalize your intention. Say out loud, I'm removing all of the things on this list from my life. Or These things no longer serve me. Then get rid of it. Destroy it. I like to burn it. If I'm in a safe place or outside, I'll burn it and watch the smoke just carry it all away, imagining that I no longer have to worry about any of those things. And if I can't burn it, I'll rip it up into as many shreds as possible, repeating to myself, I'm taking back my power with each rip of this paper, or these things no longer keep me stuck. Imagine the flame burning all those things out of your life, or each rip tearing them apart. The more you rip, the less there is. At this point, I also like to golden key the items on the list. Now you can find an episode on the golden key on the Portals Podcast channel. The Golden Key by Emmett Fox. The combination of the renunciation ceremony and the golden key is a powerful 1-2 punch that removes the issue but replaces it with something good. You don't have to golden key it. The ceremony is powerful on its own. That's just something I like to do, but I've always been a bit extra. So why is this ceremony important? By taking a look at the things we feel are holding us back and then putting them on paper, we are facing them and choosing to let them go, relieving ourselves of them. We're choosing to break the bond that they have on us. We're taking action. We're actually doing the work, as they say. When a piece of paper is destroyed, take a minute to sit back and feel how much lighter you are. I've been known to do this ceremony in the middle of the night. It's particularly effective when dealing with insomnia or when my thoughts are racing. It's like gathering those thoughts and insecurities physically and then destroying them. Then I sleep like a baby. It feels amazing. Part 2. Real change. Facing fears and honoring commitment. In the first part of this process, we identified the people, places, and things that were holding us back, and we took steps to address them. Now, in part 2, we're going to confront the number one offender that keeps us from creating the lives we envision for ourselves. Fear. Some of you may already feel a bit of fear or hesitation creeping in. Maybe it feels silly or unnecessary to be doing all this. And maybe, for you, it is. I can only share with you what's worked for me. It's natural to feel awkward when you try something new. Whenever we make significant changes in our lives, thoughts, feelings, and fears often arise that, under normal circumstances, can derail our efforts at self-improvement. These are the thoughts and feelings of self-doubt and insignificance. Chances are, the seeds of these feelings were planted long before you can remember. They may have been passed down through the generations. Many of these subtle ideas we hold about ourselves and the world around us are actually inherited. I know this struggle all too well. I've had to work through what is now known as imposter syndrome many times. I've battled feelings of being small and insignificant for most of my life. In fact, this is something I deal with every time I sit down to write an episode for this podcast. That's why I'm bringing it up here, as a way of facing it in this moment. I'm experiencing it right now, in fact. As I write this script, I'm facing these doubts. So let's take a minute to address imposter syndrome, starting with the definition. Imposter syndrome is a common psychological pattern where individuals doubt their accomplishments and feel undeserving of their success. They often believe that they're faking it or will be exposed as a fraud. There's a story that runs through my head about how I'm just a poor, broken kid from Detroit, Michigan. I was a juvenile delinquent, in and out of the system. I don't have much of a formal education, and I'm not worthy of telling anybody how to do anything. Nobody's going to listen to what I have to say. I don't have credentials. There's a dozen variations of that story that play out in my mind at times. I'm telling you, there's a very fragile young kid inside me who doesn't feel worthy and tries to talk me down every time I attempt something big. And he's cruel. But here's how I deal with that. I reprogram myself. How? It's actually quite simple, but it works. I have mantras that I repeat whenever those feelings of insecurity or doubt creep in. If programming is what caused these doubts, then programming is what can heal them. It's about replacing those old thoughts with new, more vibrant thoughts that feel better. Here's a few examples. I have zero control over what happened to me or the choices that I made in the past, but I do have control over the choices that I make now. My life is greater than the sum of its parts. I'm a miracle and a survivor. Look at this life that I've lived. I'm a success story. I've grown past my pain and lived to love fully. I'm grateful for every lesson, for they are what made me who I am. Once we do the work to get past that part of us that tries to shut us down, then we're starting to see the absolute wonder of it all. Being committed in the face of fear and insecurity is huge, groundbreaking, life-changing, and world-shifting. Good job. Part 3. Finding our anchor, our core values. All right, so get that pad of paper out again and write over across the top, what are my core values? Here's a few of mine. You can write whatever you want. Faith, hope, honesty, fairness, justice, equal access to resources, being a good person, love as the most important thing, family and friendship. I could make a longer list, but I'll limit it to those core values for the sake of this video. But feel free to write down as many of your own core values as you want. Just as you did before, leave a few lines between each one. After you write your list, take a minute to jot down a sentence or two explaining why each of those values are important to you. For example, one of my deepest core values is equity of all living things. Equity is one of my core values. To me, I believe that all beings on this planet are an extended part of my earthling family. We all share this one planet at this one time, so it's important that we honor and respect all living things. I may even go so far as to write out the definition or description of the word. You don't have to do this. Like I said, I acknowledge and accept that I'm a bit extra. But for the purpose of this demonstration, equity. The term equity refers to fairness and justice and is distinguished from equality. Whereas equality means providing the same to all, equity means recognizing that we do not all start from the same place, and we must acknowledge and make adjustments to imbalances. Take justice as another example. I believe that for equity among all living things to exist, there must be a system of justice that provides a sense of security. Without justice, there are no consequences for our actions, nor are there any rewards for our success. Call it karmic law, the rule of cause and effect, whatever you like. I believe that justice is one of the foundational principles of a functioning and flourishing humanity. Now go ahead and do this same for all your core values. Two important things will happen when you do this. You'll have a chance to refine your core values and decide if they truly belong on this list, and you'll add intellectual value to your core values by thinking them through. Once you've created your list of core values, we can move on to the next and final part of this process of unstucking ourselves, which is creating a personal I am mission statement, or a PIMS, P-I-M-S. Creating our personal I am mission statement. Quick question. Who are you? Seriously, who are you? Not your name. That's just what people call you. And I'm not talking about your physical description or your situation either. None of those things really define who you are. Who you are is the culmination of your core values, which we just talked about. But those are just concepts and ideas that shape much of our character. Who we are is the full package, including what we believe and how we live our lives. Get out that pad of paper again and write these questions and answers on a separate sheet of paper. What brings you joy? For me, joy comes from a deep connection with nature. Being out on the river with a fishing pole, or sitting by a campfire under the stars, or cozying up in a tent during a rainstorm. I love it all. There seems to be something vulnerable about it that I really enjoy. I also find joy in playing my guitar, or painting, spending quality time with people that I love. Lately, I've found joy in appreciating the little things, like the color green. After some health scares made me realize just how much I appreciate being alive, the little things seem that much more important. Go ahead and write down as many things that bring you joy as you can in just a few minutes. Like our core values, take a moment to write something about each one of them on your list. What are you passionate about? I'm passionate about, like I said, creating art, playing music. I also really enjoy cooking, blending flavors to create the most pleasurable dining experience possible. I'm also passionate about exploring all my senses and about the work I'm doing with Emergence Creative Space and Portals podcast. I'm passionate about sponsoring gatherings where people can connect and explore other sides of themselves that they may not be that familiar with, learning as much as they can about specific topics or some of life's great mysteries. Your list of passions is important. Don't skip over it. Write as much detail as you can and really feel what you're writing about. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Here's my list. Again, I'm keeping it short, keeping in mind the length of this episode. Strengths. I'm thoughtful, compassionate, deeply caring, inquisitive, and discerning. I'm a quick learner and dedicated to my life's work. My weaknesses? I can be disruptive, impulsive, dismissive, judgmental, harsh with my words, and sometimes I shut down rather than dealing with things. As before, take some time to elaborate on each of these. You might notice that your answers change over time, which is totally okay. In the last episode of Portal's podcast, we discussed the power of emotional intelligence and briefly touched upon creating a personal mission statement. I said then that I'll talk more about this in a future episode. Well, here it is. A personal mission statement is similar to a business mission statement. It clearly states your goals, values, and purpose. Let's take a look at some of these well-known businesses' mission statements and see if you can tell if they line up what you know about the company. This first one, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Maybe their vision statement will also be a little bit of a hint for you. To provide access to the world's information in one click. If you guessed Google, you'd be correct. We aim to be the world's most consumer-centric company. Our mission is to continually raise the bar of customer experience by using the internet and technology to help customers find, discover, and buy anything, and empower businesses and content creators to maximize their success. If you said Amazon, you'd be right again. To empower every person in every organization on a planet to achieve more. That's Microsoft's mission statement. And finally, our mission is to help boost the confidence and inspire creativity in the hearts and minds of creators, organizers, and actionists around the world. I love the sound of that one. Actually, I created it. It's from the Emergence Creative Space, and you can find it on the ECS website under the Start Here tab. You can check out Emergence Creative Space at www.emergencecreative.space. These examples show that our mission statement should be brief, concise, and deliver all the information to describe who we are, or, in the case of a personal mission statement, what we're all about. Now, let's create your personal I Am mission statement. The method I'm about to share with you will help you better understand yourself and how you want to show up in the world and life. Let's start with the definition of what a PIMS is. What does the I stand for? Well, that's something I added when created my own personal mission statement. It stands for I am. I added the I am because it's one of the most powerful statements someone can make. It's a declaration to the universe of who we are, and it harnesses the power to be and become whatever follows I am. Sadly, this goes both ways. If you say I'm happy, you might feel a twinge of happiness. If you say I am sad, you might feel a bit of melancholy. It's really that simple, and that's a great example. Try it and see for yourself. Repeat those two statements and see how you feel. Now think about how many times a day we make unconscious I am statements. I am statements are extremely powerful. I'm so silly. I'm so forgetful. I'm sure you get it. There's a burst of chemicals that enter our system every time we make I am statements, and our bodies react accordingly. I am beautiful. I am loved. I am so good at what I do. I just had to balance it out. I didn't want any disruptive I am statements left lingering. All right, are you ready to make your own PIM statement? Let's get started. To create your personal I am mission statement, grab a pen and a pad of paper. Number the lines on your paper from 1 to 6, leaving 5 or 6 lines between each. Flip the paper over and use the backside if you run out of room. Use the following guide to fill in the spaces after the numbers. Okay, so number 1, what does being of service mean, and how can you be of service to others? Write your answers, dedicating at least 1 line to each. You'll be ranking these in a moment. Examples: I can be of service to others by using my skills of listening to be a good friend, Or I can use my skills as a sports enthusiast to help coach a team. Or I can use my passions to inspire others. There's no right or wrong answers here. This is your creation. Number 2, what am I passionate about? You already made this list, so go ahead and write it out again here. What am I good at? Are you good at writing? Do you have a knack for leadership? This can be anything that you are skilled at. This is a good one to write as many as you feel compelled to write. We can never have too many reminders of what we're good at. 4, how do you want to show up in life? These would be the qualities you'd love to possess. For example, I want to embody compassion, or I want to always have a great attitude, or I want to be the guy that is an example of what resilience can do. All right, number 5, what quality of life do you wish to have? Do you want to be wealthy? Are you looking to live a healthier life? Do you seek more adventure, more love and romance, tighter family relationships? Whatever it is, write it down here. After you write about 4 or 5 items for each one of those lists, take a minute to rank them. Which is the least important to you and which is the most important to you? It's okay to add or remove items for your list. Customize them. Make sure your answers align with what you really truly feel in your heart. Don't overanalyze, just write it out. When you feel that your list is truly reflecting who you are, then you're ready for the next step. And that is, take the most important item from each list, the one that you rank the highest, and put them all together in one statement. It doesn't matter if it flows like a statement, we'll get to that part. Here's what I came up with. I took the number 1 highest ranked from each one of those lists. I can be of service by showing up for people in need, by using my love of creating videos and writing articles so that I can inspire and empower people to live more conscious lives that are in line with their highest vision for themselves. That's part 1 of your personal I Am mission statement. Pretty painless, right? Now that you've created your personal I Am mission statement, it's time to integrate it into your life. That's part 2. Now, living your personal I Am mission statement. Putting it all into practice to live and continue living unstuck. Your mission statement is more than just words on a page. It's a guide to living a life that aligns with your core values, passions, and strengths. Here are a few suggestions on how you can build on the life you just set in motion. 1. Reflect daily. Each morning, take a moment to reflect on your PIMS. A good practice would be to write it on a piece of paper and then hang it by the mirror so it's one of the first things you see as you start your day. Ask yourself, how can I live by this today? Whether it's through small acts of kindness, pursuing your passions, or standing up for your values, find ways to embody your mission in everything you do. Another thing you can do is set goals. Use your personal I Am mission statement as a foundation for setting personal and professional goals. When you're clear about who you are and what you want to achieve, it becomes easier to create actionable steps towards your desired outcomes. Ensure that your goals align with your mission statement. In this way, our core values will show up in everything we do. 3. Make decisions that reflect your personal values. When faced with a decision, small or big, refer back to your personal mission statement. Does this choice align with your mission? Does it support your values and passions? Let your mission statement be your compass, guiding you towards decisions that reflect your true self. Revisit and revise. Your mission statement isn't set in stone. As you grow and evolve, so too might your personal I Am mission statement. Revisit it periodically to see if it still resonates with who you are and who you want to become. Don't be afraid to make adjustments as needed. In fact, I have personal mission statements for various aspects of my life. Share it. Consider sharing your personal I Am mission statement with others, whether it's a close friend, a mentor, or even on social media. Putting your mission statement out in the world can create a sense of accountability and inspire others to create their own. And then finally, live authentically. Most importantly, live in a way that is true with your mission. Authenticity is the key to leading a fulfilling life. When your actions are aligned with your deepest values and passions, you'll find greater satisfaction and a stronger sense of purpose. All right, that's it. Congratulations on taking this time to craft your personal I Am mission statement. This is a very powerful tool that will serve as your guide in navigating the complexities of life, helping you stay true to who you are and what you stand for. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. Continue to reflect, grow, and live in alignment with your mission statement. In doing so, you'll not only create a better life for yourself, but also positively impact those around you. Here's to living our best life, fully aligned with our core values and passion. As we close out this video, I encourage you to embrace the process of self-discovery and self-empowerment. Life is a journey, and with your personal I Am mission statement, you now have a roadmap to help you navigate it with intention and purpose. Keep striving, keep growing, and keep shining your light in the world. Thank you for taking this journey with me. I'm creating this channel to be a go-to resource for people who are inspired to empower themselves and create the lives of their dreams. If you would like to help support this effort, please consider stopping by the Emergence Creative Space Patreon page and become a paid subscriber. Your contribution will help support my work in creating content that helps enrich lives. You can also get some ECS and Portals podcast merch through the ECS Marketplace. We have some awesome t-shirts and hoodies and other swag to help you shine a light and inspire people around you without even saying a word. It's pretty cool. All right, that does it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Until next time, thank you so much for visiting me, listening to what I had to say, and let's get inspired.